Hello everybody, my name is Richard Kirby. I'm a bishop in the Episcopal World Church, which serves churches in India, Asia, and to a certain extent in North America also. This is the first of 3 Episcopal sermons on the subjects of the bishops of yesterday, the bishops of today, and the bishops of tomorrow. I would like to talk to everybody about a little piece of science that almost everybody knows, that helps me to explain what I'm doing, how I'm doing this today. And this is the little bit of science that scouts use to start a fire if they need to cook food or get warmth when they're out in the wilderness. What you do is you take a lens and you focus the rays of the sun, and they come to a point. And where that sunlight is focused to a sharp point, it's very much hotter than anywhere else and can set fire to wood. I'd like you to hold this in mind when you consider that I am giving this series of talks particularly to a man who is going to become a bishop quite soon. My son, the Reverend Pastor Gootla Dorababu, the son of a pastor, and I think the father of one. They're not grown up yet, his sons, in Andhra Pradesh, India. He is my chosen lens. Through him I address these words to the hungry, waiting world, looking for the fire of divine life and light and goodness. What a fire of love and light, what the fire in the belly that Jeremiah tells us about in chapter 20 of Jeremiah. This fire comes down from heaven and is focused by the personality and now the life of Gootla Dorababu and all his flocks as he learns how to be a bishop, and we support him in learning. I promised a friend that I would dedicate this series to him. His name is Rabbi Dr. Moshe Dror, and he has been my personal chaplain. He lives in Israel. He was born in New York. We are the co-chaplains of various futurist organizations and science organizations. And in this spirit, this talk about episcopacy, this talk about religious leaders and their training, in this way, by this dedication, has become a multi-faith process. And the principles that I speak of here, the principles of scholarship, the principles of faith, of leadership, can be used by anybody in any religion as we ask ourselves, what does it mean to have been a bishop, to be a bishop, to become one in the future? The bishops of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. There are many reasons why we might want to look at the bishops of yesterday. One is that history is very interesting, and there are many reasons historians do what they do. And when they do it, if they're dedicated, they throw themselves into the classicist method of understanding the past on its own terms. L.P. Hartley said in his book, The Go-Between, "The past is a different continent. They did things differently there." Actually, he said they do things differently, but it's not so easy to understand people of bygone times if we judge them by our standards. If we look at the first Bishop of Rome, St. Peter, and ask where was his cell phone, we're not going to get very far. There were no buses, no radios, no cell phones, no boom boxes, not even really anything like a newspaper. But before I talk about why we want to study the bishops of yesterday and what they were, we must give an overall method. This I take from the mastermind of antiquity, Aristotle, the star of Plato's Academy, the founder of the Lyceum, the founder of natural science, the founder of marine biology, logic, ethics, politics, and so on. Aristotle created a method which is a wonderful tool for us. It's a method of comparison and transcendence. In his book, The Politics, Aristotle took the constitutions of all the states, city-states, polis, known to him, compared them to see which would be best for democracy, drew his conclusions. But he didn't stop there. He went on to say, and what would be the best city if we weren't limited by the kind of limitations that we have now in time and space and so on. Now there is a very, very powerful reason for using Aristotle's method with the study of bishops. It's because it leads us to explore the world of all the bishops that have ever been, which is pretty small compared with the number of pebbles on the beach, regard them as a set and ask, which was the best for their purposes, which would be the best for ours, what would be the best for the future. And in doing this, we are studying essentially the essence of episcopacy, and therefore the genius of being a bishop, and behind that what Pope John Paul II called the Christian genius, the spirit, in other words. And what could be a better thing for theologians and bishops than to look for the spirit? When we look at the bishops of yesterday, it's not because we want to understand them, or if it is, it's because we want to understand what it is to be a bishop now. We want to know the best way of training the bishops of the future by understanding what good, better, and best bishops are. So let me start by telling you about two bishops of ancient times. St. Ignatius of Antioch was martyred by being eaten in the lion's den. He was a bishop, and as he was taken to Rome from Antioch in a slow train, so to speak, he wrote a series of epistles in which he spoke about gaining Christ by being ground into the fine wheat of Christ by the teeth of the lions. St. Polycarp of Smyrna, one of the most famous of martyrs, was a bishop for about 60 years in Smyrna, and was then, during a persecution period of the Christians, was asked if he would just sacrifice a grain of snuff or some such thing to Caesar, just, to keep the order in place. No, he said, 80 years I have served my master, and now I should betray him. So they burned him to death, but even that didn't kill him. The sails billowed around him like a ship. Finally, they had to stab him, and it's said that when they did, some doves emerged. Why is it that we admire and remember these people and not ones who were craven? There's something great about the spirit of sacrifice. And the bishop who is a martyr, the bishop who's prepared to give all for the moral leadership of his flocks, is one that we remember. We might say today the bishop is like an athlete that gives everything to win his race. And St. Paul, who was a kind of bishop, wrote to that effect, I have run the race, I have fought the good fight, I have finished my journey, and now there is laid up for me in heaven a garland of righteousness. So we'll carry this forward in our second talk on the bishops of today. Thank you.